Hello to you and welcome to the weekend wrap-up. I'm Jurnee Taylor. We begin with a 180 from the federal government. After weeks of waiting and wondering, President Trump approved a major disaster declaration for parts of Arkansas hit by tornadoes in March. It came after an initial denial from FEMA, but after an appeal backed by the state's congressional delegation and a phone call from Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the president reversed the decision. So now, here's how you can apply.
Severe weather on March 14th, 2025 left 3 people dead near Cave City and injured almost 3 dozen others statewide. If you were impacted by those storms, here's how to apply for the newly approved FEMA funding. At disasterassist.gov, you'll enter your zip code or city to start the process. There's also a FEMA mobile app that you can use. You'll be asked what kind of help you need. Do you have damage to your home, car, or personal property? Do you need help with groceries or utility bills? Once you submit your need request, FEMA may reach out to do an inspection of the damage or to chat about your current situation so they can get you what you need. One important note, if you have insurance, file a claim immediately because FEMA cannot help with losses that are already covered by insurance.
Now, to make it easier to find the application, just text the word FEMA to 501-376-1111, and we'll send you our article with a direct link. Again, text FEMA to 501-376-1111. Well, this week, voters across the state made their voices heard on plans for schools, entertainment, and the economy, and more. Despite 3 decades between tax requests, Pope County voters remain opposed to spending public dollars on a new jail, even if a new 911 center is thrown in. Rebecca Brown shows us how, despite the rejection, the county judge says the need isn't going away.
We need those services. We have to have them.
At stake, a 3/4 cent sales tax aimed at funding construction, operation, and maintenance of a new jail and 911 call center. But that tax fell with 1,986 against and 1,624 in support.
Our population has doubled while our infrastructure has not. And so we, there's disappointment.
As for why it failed, Pope County Judge Ben Cross says he believes several factors played a role.
We had a 10.7% voter turnout, so 10% of the people decided for the 90% that didn't. And so low voter turnout, the economic environment of our nation right now has obviously got people concerned.
But he says the vote doesn't change the day-to-day challenges the county is facing, like overcrowding. Judge Cross says the current jail, which was built more than 4 decades ago, no longer matches with their growing population, forcing them to only hold violent felonies and violent misdemeanors behind bars.
We started this year with nearly 11,000 active misdemeanor warrants, domestic battery, DWIs, DWI accidents where they inflict injury. Those are all examples of misdemeanor offenses that are not being adjudicated properly. Back child support. That's one of our biggest issues in this county.
Now Judge Cross says there's only one option left.
Other than the quorum court, to go back before the voters at some future time and date to present this to the voters again and see how the voters in the future respond to it, because you can't put a price on public safety.
Rebecca Brown, TV 11 News.
Well, expanding and building jails like that, are a big part of Republican State Senator Bryant King's plan to stop the state from building a new prison in Franklin County. We reached out to him about people of Pope County rejecting the public safety tax. He says he understood and understands the hesitation to vote for tax increases, saying, quote, "That's why my plan of using $225 million of state surplus for grants for county jail expansions are more crucial than ever." Now to Bryant, where voters shot down a big idea. Carter Threet explains what their rejection of the BAM means for the city.
The thing that I've heard the most is this isn't quite it.
That's the message Bryant Mayor Chris Treat is taking away from the results of Tuesday's special election. It would have put an entertainment venue capable of seating 3,000 people here, in this field at the corner of Highway 5 and Lowry Lane.
Your steady stream of income. It's not $50 million venues that may or may not thrive.
Dana Bailey is one longtime Bryant resident who says she can't speak for everyone, but she voted no for that exact reason. In her opinion, there are better uses of that money.
Investing $50 million into something that's supposed to generate income for infrastructure just seemed like a bad idea. Why not just invest the money directly into infrastructure?
Mayor Treat says he's open to the idea.
And we're going to ask specifically, where do you want to see this half cent? Do you want to see it sunset? Do you want to see it put into infrastructure like a water treatment plant or parks or fire stations?
But ultimately, it'll be up to the people of Bryant.
I think best case scenario, the BAM started a really important conversation that we're going to continue and make sure we're responding to what the people actually want.
In Bryant, Carter Thweet, THV 11 News.
Well, despite the failure, the city will still move forward with its strategic plan the mayor announced earlier this year. It's focused on things like better roads and drainage systems, as well as money for police and fire departments. Meanwhile, Little Rock's firefighters are asking for your help. After years of deteriorating conditions at fire stations across the city, officials are reaching out to the community with a new campaign. Maya Ellison learns what started the Love Your Firefighters initiative and how you play a part.
This is a very stressful job, and so having the ability to actually decompress on your time off, that means a lot. And it means a lot to a lot of people on this job. And that's why it's something that's worth fighting for.
That fight began in December. Local 34 President Matthew Stallings shared the need for budget support after the proposed Little Rock sales tax was rejected. Their requests included pay raises and schedule changes, both approved in January.
What we've seen to be across the board raises 5% each in the Little Rock Fire Department, something we haven't seen in quite some time.
There was just one more item they need help with.
There's an area for improvement as it relates to some of the TLC in some of those particular buildings.
City directors like Cappy Peck got the chance to see these safety concerns for herself.
I toured several of them along with Director Adcock, and frankly, I was appalled. Some of these would probably not pass a code inspection.
That's when Peck and other city leaders worked to find a solution, announcing on Monday a donation initiative leaning on the community to help.
The Love Your Firefighters campaign. Many times when there's a question of how can we be more helpful, this is an opportunity to do that as well as do it tax-free.
Through tax-deductible donations, your money can help provide a safe space for our first responders home away from home.
Ceiling fans, chairs, exercise equipment. This is tough work. We have earmarked $2.5 million to address the really expensive and serious needs, especially in our aging fire stations, like HVAC systems, vinyl asbestos tile remediation, mold remediation, and flooding and issues. Flooding in the basement right here.
City leaders say the money just isn't there in the budget, so the community has to work together.
And while our budget, supported by your tax dollars, helps keep us running, the Love Our Firefighters initiative gives residents a chance to go one step further, or whether it's donating goods or time.
In Little Rock, Maya Ellison, THV 11 News.
Well, new laws are shaking up Arkansas's education system, and with major changes on the horizon, state leaders are already laying the groundwork for next school year. With that in mind, Rebecca Brown sat down with Education Secretary Jacob Oliva to break down what comes next.
Nearly 1,000 new laws came out of the 95th General Assembly, and about 100 of them would directly impact Arkansas schools, according to Education Secretary Jacob Oliva.
All the way from early learning through K-12 and post-secondary, it's all high-quality work, and it's something that we look forward to now implementing.
One being the Arkansas Access Act, one of Governor Sanders' top priorities from day one.
Every student, when they leave high school, are ready to meet what we're calling one of the big 3 E's. Is every student ready to be employed, enrolled, or enlisted?
But with the law this big and packed with details, schools and communities have questions. How will it all work and how fast?
So just like when we pass Arkansas Learns, we put out a call to all the expert teachers all across the state that says, we've established 6 work groups and need some people that are willing to spend some time to work with us and give us their boots on the ground expertise so that when we write rules to implement these programs, we can do it right.
Shifting to another major change, the Bell-to-Bell No Cell Phone Act. It's something some school districts have already tested, but now that the pilot phase is over, I asked how full implementation will work.
As we go through this next budget cycle, we're going to identify additional dollars to help support districts. Districts are going to have the ability to determine a methodology that works best for them for implementation. Some districts are buying lockers.
Still, the new law is getting some pushback from parents, especially those worried about not being able to reach their child during an emergency.
If we're implementing crisis management, the last thing we want students to do is be distracted with their phones. They need to listen to the adults that are taking charge of the situation at hand, and we need to make sure we get through whatever crisis and response that we're navigating with. We'll find ways to get access to communicate with parents.
In Little Rock, Rebecca Brown, TV 11 News.
Well, this time of year, it's common to see more creepy crawlers across the natural state, even the invasive kind. Brooke Buckner caught up with an expert to share what you need to look out for to keep you and your family safe.
You've heard of hammerhead sharks, but what about hammerhead worms? These unique creatures could be dangerous if you come into contact with them.
I do not recommend that you let pets get exposed, young children, or even yourself.
Vic Ford, retired associate vice president for the University of Arkansas Division of Agriculture, says it's because of their poison.
The poison that's in the slime is the same poison as in pufferfish.
He says if eaten, it can make humans and pets sick.
Try to make sure that you get rid of them as quickly as you can, particularly if you have sensitive creatures that are out there that may get a hold of them.
While they're not new to Arkansas, you may see more of them this time of year. This one was found in a West Little Rock backyard.
They're spread from location to location, primarily through things like flower pots. They hide out in there and a good moist place to stay.
So what do you do if you find one? Think twice before picking it up with your bare hands.
Please don't handle them with your hands. I've not heard of anybody getting sick from that. But something like a small dog or a kid or even a cat may get some of that toxin in there.
And even though your first instinct may be to cut up the worm, Ford says that's actually the worst thing you can do.
I've killed that hammerhead wood. I cut it in 100 pieces. Well, you just create 100 more hammerhead worms. So we're telling people salt like you would snails, vinegar is really good.
Although Ford hasn't encountered hammerhead worms at his own house, he's prepared to get rid of them as safely as possible.
They're going to get a dose of salt or a dose of vinegar, and we're going to get rid of those things.
In Little Rock, Brooke Buckner, THV 11 News.
Well, because the worms are found everywhere now, Ford says there's no longer a need to report them to the Department of Agriculture. Just remember to wear gloves when handling and have that salt or vinegar on hand. Arkansas Game and Fish is concerned about safe boating. As summer lake season comes closer, we've got advice to keep your family safe next. With summer fast approaching and holidays like Memorial Day along with it, boaters across Arkansas will soon be going for a day on the water. But of course, safety should always be top of mind. Carter Thweet tells us about an uptick in recent incidents that have game and fish concern.
You see it reported and you think that won't happen to you, but it can, and a lot of our accidents are preventable.
Sydney Grant is the boating law administrator for the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. She says they've seen worrying trends lately, an increase in boating accidents, including a tragic one from just last month.
People are fishing, the body of water the current was stronger than normal. They were floating down, not paying attention to a tree or like a root wad in the water, and they ended up capsizing, and we had a fatality as a result.
So what do you need to know as boating season kicks into high gear? Grant says most of the responsibility falls on the operator. You need to know your experience level and what waters are safe.
We've kind of seen a trend with operator inexperience. So people are going out, they're renting boats. It's the first time they've actually been on that particular body of water. And they're getting in situations that are outside of their experience level as an operator.
Other dangers include not wearing life jackets, which are mandatory in most cases for children 12 and under and recommended for adults. Operators not paying attention is another big one. AGFC tells us that's illegal, as is boating under the influence.
It carries the same weight and penalties as driving drunk in a car. You will go to jail, your license will be suspended. So if for some reason you've got a boat and alcohol's involved, make sure and have a sober boat operator.
And if protecting yourself and your loved ones isn't enough incentive to follow the law, Grant adds that they have more game wardens than ever out on the waters to make sure you're staying safe. In Hot Springs, Carter Thweet, THV 11 News.
During yet another busy severe weather season here in Arkansas, many of us have had to spend time in our safe places, either at home or in a community storm shelter. But not all areas have public safe rooms. Brooke Buckner shows us why that is and how some are working to change that.
There was kind of that eerie quiet just because everybody's a little on edge, a little nervous about what's going on.
That's Jacksonville Mayor Jeff Elmore describing what his wife and mother-in-law experienced while taking cover in this shelter on March 31st, 2023.
They said it was a good experience for what it was. You're there, you're with, total strangers, and maybe not, some people that could be in here, but that it was very pleasant.
That's the city's goal, to provide a safe and comfortable environment at both of its public storm shelters. This one at the police department and the one at the Jacksonville Senior Center open when Pulaski County is under a tornado warning.
2 years ago, we actually, we took the hit, so there were some people who were sensitive to that, kind of traumatized by it, and rightly so. And so there will be folks that will come if there's the threat of a storm that will come out here and just wait, and just, they're better safe than sorry.
Well, I'm curious about what it takes to actually operate these shelters. I mean, is it very costly to your city?
It's actually not very costly in operation because, like I said, both of these are dual purpose rooms, so they're being used anyway. And then our only expense when the shelter is open, we have a police officer at each place just to make sure that nothing's happening.
He says it's a much needed resource in his city to keep as many people as safe as possible. And it's built to withstand an EF5 tornado.
Looking at the wall this way, you can see just how wide it is. It's almost or just about a 2 foot thick wall. So it's like this all the way around, solid concrete reinforced, set up to FEMA standards to withstand that level of a tornado.
When you look at community shelters across central Arkansas, you'll notice there aren't that many in Pulaski County, the most populated county in the state. According to the Arkansas Division of Emergency Management, there are only 2 other public shelters in addition to the 2 in Jacksonville. One is at College Station Elementary School in Little Rock and the other at Cedar Heights Baptist Church in North Little Rock. However, the city doesn't operate one of its own.
It's very costly to construct a large tornado safe room to house a large community or ward. So that's one of the primary reasons that Little Rock does not have a large community-based safe room right now.
Little Rock's emergency manager, Nathan Spicer, says it's been in the works since the same EF3 tornado that ripped through Jacksonville also hit Little Rock.
After the March 31st tornado, we were allocated a certain amount of money to do specialized projects. So we applied through FEMA and through the Arkansas Division of Emergency Management to construct the safe room. So that's still in the approval process. It's not a sure thing yet, but that's something we're attempting to build here.
Spicer says the goal is to build 2 shelters that can each hold at least 200 people.
And I know the population of Little Rock, over 200,000, we'll never have enough money to make a shelter for 200,000 people, but we are trying to at least do a portion of the population.
He expects it will cost millions of dollars to build them, and the city is still waiting to find out if it's getting grants, so it could be a while before construction starts.
Hopefully it's a pretty short turnaround for the application, but hopefully pretty soon we're here on that.
Elmore says that's the best first step to turn the idea into reality.
The comfort and the peace of mind that it brings, knowing that, hey, you're going to be okay because you're in here, it was worth it.
Brooke Buckner, THV 11 News.
Well, Spicer says he hopes to hear back about the federal grants in the next couple of months. Then, if approved, the city can move forward with design plans and pick a location for the storm shelters. A blind student steps up to the plate as UA Little Rock's play-by-play announcer. Find out how his mind's eye describes America's pastime coming up. But first, some young entrepreneurs at Little Rock's Agape Academy are showing that small ends can make a big difference.
1, 2, 3, up.
So for Grand Fam Day, the class was assigned to do a project where they can raise money for the class to purchase anything that they would like. So our class, instead of buying something for the class, because our parents has already donated everything we needed, we decided to donate the funds to Arkansas Children's Hospital and the other half to the library here at Agape Academy.
Did you guys make some slime?
Yes.
And what'd you make the slime for?
We made it to raise money for Arkansas Children's Hospital.
1,000.
So at Agape Academy, we really focus on teaching our children biblical values, and one of those is to give to those who may not have what we have. And so we want to teach children that it's important to give from what we do have so that other people can know the love of Jesus.
So my son and my daughter are ambassadors for Arkansas Children's Hospital. And my son had a surgery a while ago when COVID first hit Arkansas. And we were stuck in the hospital. It was just me and my son. And I just had the clothing that I had packed just for their surgery. I went into panic mode, but there were funds given to me. But I knew that this same program helped me when I was at the hospital for a week.
Jeez, amazing. How did that make you feel?
Happy.
And why did it make you feel happy?
Because we were giving.
So many great stories in sports start with an athlete overcoming some great obstacle to get on the field. Well, for one Arkansas student, it's about what he overcame to get in the press box. Tyler Cass shares his incredible story.
There's a special beauty to the game of baseball in every sense. The sight of a towering home run, the smell of fresh leather, the sound of bat hitting ball.
The pops of the glove, the crowds, the organs, the announcers.
Dallas Cathy, a sophomore at the Arkansas School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, has only ever known the game through those noises.
It's just always been what I love.
He keeps up with everything that happens in a day with baseball.
If I hear the bat crack and I don't hear a glove, it's a hit. If I hear the bat crack and I hear the glove, it's an out.
And last Friday night, he got to live out a dream.
Warm welcome inside beautiful Gary Hogan Field and a welcome inside the Dom Thompson press box. I'm Max Coltrane, joined by Dallas Cathy.
Using stats printed in Braille, Cathy brought the color to the Little Rock booth.
What a shot by Cano!
And Cano breaks the scoreless tie with a solo shot.
And he definitely keeps that hitting streak going with that bomb.
With family and friends listening in the stands and around the state, Dallas did his thing.
It was kind of surreal, and I had people messaging me going, goodness, I didn't even know who that was.
And that's one thing that could lead to blowing the game open a lot more.
I think he surpassed any expectation probably any of us had.
And it is taking a minute to review this call.
It was pretty surreal that he got to live his dream tonight.
That's all from Little Rock for Dallas Cathy. I'm Max Coltrane signing off.
Had a great time. I felt like I belonged in that press box.
In Little Rock, Tyler Cass, THV 11 Sports.
Well, check this out. Cathy is also a player on the baseball field in the Miracle League in his hometown of Warren. Well, that's it for the weekend wrap up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.